Okay. Oh, here it is. Right. Yes, now we are live. All right. Well, we're going to let folks kind of gather around. I'll go ahead and introduce myself and kind of what we're doing tonight. My name is Bill Mefford. I am the executive director at the Festival Center. We are located in Northwest DC in the Adams Morgan neighborhood, and we are a community center that comes alongside faith communities, justice-seeking organizations to provide generative support, and then also to train and mobilize faith leaders to engage in the work of serving their communities and affecting justice movements in a positive and faithful way. So I am joined tonight by two absolutely incredible people. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, but I really am excited about what we're going to be talking about tonight, and more importantly, what they are going to be leading us in for the rest of the year. So, Luisely and Crisely, you want to introduce yourselves?
Yes, thank you, Bill. I was going to say at the same time. Yeah, my name is Crisely Melecio-Zambrano, sister to Luisely Melecio-Zambrano. And I am a spiritual director as well as a mother and other roles. And I'm very connected to a community called L'Arche with people with intellectual disabilities. Who are you? I'm Luisely, and Crisely's sister. I'm a spiritual director and a midwife, and and I'm excited to be co-leading a class with Crisely about discernment, and we'll get deeper into that, I imagine, as we continue our little Facebook Live.
Yeah, and I want to hear what y'all think about discernment, but just something that just strikes me. I would love to ask you, Luisely, how is being a spiritual director, how is that interwoven in your work as a midwife?
I love that question. I see them as similar in many ways, because as a spiritual director, really what I'm called to do is to hold space for the other as they sort of go through the movements and the contractions of life, and moments of birthing their relationship with the divine and whatever it is that's coming in their soul and in their being. And as a midwife, I feel like my role is to do similar, but actually like physical life. So in the same way, being really attuned to listening, in midwifery, you got to be fully present, so that you know, like, oh wait, the heart tones are a bit different. Let's see, maybe we change positions. Maybe we, just suggestions. And in the same way, spiritual direction is a deep listening of, what about this? With the person, whether the directee or the client, being the one that's got the power and is the one listening deeply, and then allowing me to witness and hold space. So thanks for the question, Bill.
Oh, that's fascinating. Both are bringing about real miracles into reality. So that's fascinating. So I want to tell everybody who's watching or listening, if you have any questions for Luisely or Crisely, please drop them in the chat. We'll see them and make sure that they are answered. But they're going to be leading a class that begins on February 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 7 to 8:30. There's going to be a number of other classes. We'll go through the dates in a little bit, but it's the name of the class is Building a Discernment Toolkit, which I think is it's a very interesting name for a class. So before we talk about the toolkit and some other aspects of the class, tell us what how you define or understand discernment.
In really simple terms, it's intentional decision making. So yeah, I feel like that's a really perfect way to sum it up, is that it's all of us make so many decisions on the day to day, from huge life decisions of where to live, where to work, who to be with, but also just so many little moments like, what am I going to eat right now? And so discernment is an opportunity to be intentional about those, and to check in with yourself, and I see discernment also as like tapping into that wisdom that is inherent in all of us. Do you have anything to add? No, I think that sums it up. Well, I guess yes. Something is that there's a deep listening of oneself when discerning, I think, and incorporating the body, like all of oneself as well as community. Yeah, but that's discernment.
And so you identify kind of building a toolkit. Just, I know that, and there's going to be a number of classes that are taking place. This starts again on February 22nd. There's March 22nd, April 26th, May 24th, then September 27th, October 21st, the 25th, and December 3rd. So we've got 8 classes overall. Is it going to be adding tools to those to that toolkit each time? I mean, how do you see the structure of the class unfolding?
Yeah. We're really excited about it. Both of us are like, ooh, I want to answer this one. Yeah, so we are definitely adding tools. What I'm really excited about is these tools might be familiar to some people, but it might be coming at it from a different angle, or just because it's within the context of this little community that we're forming with the class, there's going to be something different about it. But it is every time adding a little something. And so big picture, the structure of the class, the way that it will take place over a series of 7 classes is we really want to make it so that regardless of what your primary modes of operating in this world are, that you feel like there's a tool for you that's accessible. So we'll be talking about tools for embodied discernment, what physically that can feel like, emotionally, how do our feelings affect our discernment, and mentally, intellectually, what are ways that we can engage, as well as we'll talk about like the kind of like what we said you just mentioned of the internal discernment that happens on a very personal level, as well as communal discernment. Yeah, I'm also excited about how the order in which we're going to be presenting it. I think we were very intentional about, we discerned a lot about how we were going to do it. And I'm excited because we begin with something that's a toolkit for everyday life, that can help in seeing patterns throughout our days, and also patterns throughout the year, or just patterns in our lives that can help with discernment. And then also speaking about how to really create safe space within ourselves to listen that deeply, and then going into the embodiment section and the emotional section and the mental section and communal, and all of this within a context that we hope to co-create with whoever signs up, to be a safe container. Sort of the same thing that we were speaking about as spiritual directors and midwives, of holding a safe space, of doing that for one another throughout these classes.
Yeah. Well, and we just dropped, so folks will know, we just dropped the registration link in the chat. Again, the class is starting February 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So, and I've already signed up. I'm going to be taking the class. That's not a reason not to sign up. I'll stay off camera. But So at the end of the year, when I've effectively built my toolkit and have put all the tools in there, what's going to be different in my life?
Do you want me to? Or are you? Go ahead.
I hope for each person, there'll be possibly a sense of community of others. Yeah, just a deep sense of community with the others that are there. And also, since the goal for each class, there is no assigned reading, there is no, which we'll get into in a bit, but it's about practicing it for the month. So hopefully by the end, when you've got your toolkit, you won't feel clumsy using it, if that makes sense. Like, it's like if you already know how to change a tire, when it happens, it's not like, oh shoot, what do I do? You sort of already know the movements in your body. And that's hopefully the same at the end of this course, that each one, however it fits in their body, whichever tools ended up resonating for them, and something comes in the day-to-day life, the discernment can come naturally from that place. But also if something big happens, there's already something that they've got in their backpack that they don't feel clumsy using. And if they do feel clumsy, that they've got a community to fall back on. That's what comes to mind for me.
Yeah, and I would add to that, I hope a sense of deepened self-awareness and a deeper sense of attunement to what's happening within me right now, from which to make decisions. Yeah, and I think, yeah, I just want to echo that, like, practice bit. Like, we're really hoping that it just feels like, oh, I'm using, like, they feel familiar to me, these different tools. And none of them are like lofty. I don't know, like,
they're really practical.
Yeah, the hope is that they're things that you're actually using, like, that you can use, and you feel like, oh, I need to remember, like, if X, then Y, then Z, then, you know, like, that it feels organic and natural. And of course, like, the reason that we want to be presenting kind of like across the board these different types of tools is because there are going to be different things that resonate for different people. So my hope is that regardless of how you're coming to the class and what you're hoping to get out of it, that there's at least one of those tools kind of sticks with you as, okay, I want to keep using this going forward.
So, and and again, I want to encourage folks who are watching. We'd love to, if you have any questions or thoughts, brief thoughts you want to share, but especially questions, we would love to hear those. Let me ask you this. I mean, how spiritual do I need to be to take the class?
That's
and I'm hoping it's not very spiritual.
As long as you're breathing. Shoot, if you're not.
I could do that.
That would be hard.
Yeah, no, I would say as long as you're breathing, you're welcome. Because if you have a desire to listen more deeply to yourself, that's the amount of spirituality, I would say. It doesn't have to do with a specific religion or a specific spirituality. Some of the discernment tools come from roots from different religious backgrounds or spiritual backgrounds. But those are the roots, and the fruit gets to be enjoyed by all of us, right? So I would say as long as there's a desire to do that, to tap in and to listen, and to hold space for others as they listen, that's the amount of spirituality you need.
And I would add openness to that too. Like, I'm guessing anyone who's going to sign up for this is going to come, right? They're not going to come because they don't want to be there, but like an openness to, or almost like a curiosity around, oh, what can I receive? What can I learn? Yeah.
And let me ask you a practical question. So I just threw out some dates. Again, it'll start in February 22nd, and there'll be 7 more classes after that one. If they're, because of scheduling or whatever, if there's one class I can't make on down the line, can I still sign up for it and maybe catch up in some other way to find out about that particular tool that I miss?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, we would certainly want to keep, like, if that's something that ahead of time, oh, I can't make it, I have something that night, we would be able to provide you also with kind of what to expect, what would you be missing. And while we do want to create, like we've mentioned a couple times, a community with the class, it's also like people have lives. We said he's on call as a midwife, so maybe she's gonna miss a class.
Yeah,
so, like,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you never. Yeah, of course.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Right now I have my phone on silent, but like where I could see it if I get called to a birth.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, if all of a sudden we only have one sister, we'll know something exciting is happening somewhere. I think we've got a question. How does having skills for discernment affect the lives of those who utilize it?
Yeah, I can speak from my own experience and maybe however you want to respond, but I was just exploring this earlier today, that I feel like because I have access to a lot of these tools and practice using them, there are less moments of feeling stuck, like that stuckness that's like, either I have no idea what's happening within me right now, or like, it's hard to explain even what that stuckness feels like, but because of the gift of having these tools, so often I feel like there's just more movement, like more breath throughout my life, because I feel like I have more access to myself through it, like on the most basic level, which has been transformational for me. In every aspect of my life, within relationships, within work settings, there's not a piece of my life that hasn't been touched by the fact that I feel more capable to and comfortable making intentional decisions, and not like life is happening at me, but I'm getting to participate in it. And I'm freely getting to participate in it, not like I have no choice in the matter. And I think that's I think that's where the power lies in these tools of discernment, is feeling like you're stepping back for a second and saying like, oh, I have a choice here. Like, I don't just have to be stuck in this.
Mm-hmm. It's fascinating. I smiled when I heard Crisely say the stuckness, because of my personality and how I am. I thought it grounds me, like, because I tend to move more and do things. So discernment has helped me. Like, the image that came to me was being in the middle of the ocean, and instead of like just flailing and getting so exhausted, like, what do I do? Where do I go? It's like a life raft or something of like, okay, I can rest, I can breathe, I can center, and I can look at the stars. Where's my direction? Like, look at the way, just like orient myself in a way where I'm not wasting energy trying to figure everything out at the same time. You know, it's sort of like this, wait a second, I can clear out the muck and sort of see like, oh, this is the choice in front of me right now. And what is most integral to, how do I want to respond? What would be the choice with most integrity to me right now in this moment? Which can look completely different than the choice a day ago for the same exact thing. The invitation can be different. So for me, where you feel less stuck, like it gives you movement, for me, it gives me like grounding, like, oof, okay, I've got anchoring, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And it shows how, I think y'all just illustrated how it really, the class and the toolkit, this specifically is not bent on a certain approach to life or, you know, personality makeup or level of spirituality. It really is contextual. Because when you said stuck, I was feeling like I went through a number of years where I just felt lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's that kind of, you know, things were swirling around me, but I literally felt unimpacted by almost everything. And almost uninterested. So, you know, so it's just interesting how that word, it's how we enter into that. It changes so much just based on who we are in our context and how God has created us. And this is going to be a good class, I get the feeling.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So I have another question. Here, let me blow this up. So Molly wants to know, so as a Christian, one dichotomy I seem to face is number one, the idea that God or the creator or whatever you believe in, has a general plan for me in my life. And two, the idea that there is no one right path and I just need to make the next right decision for me and for others. So will the class explore how to navigate these two contrasting ideas? Do Luisely or Crisely have initial thoughts on this? Do I need to, so it's one, the idea that God or the creator has a general plan for my life, and two, that there's no one right path and I just need to make the next right decision. So how do I navigate? Will y'all talk about how to navigate those two kind of interesting tensions?
Yeah, I think
that's a great question, by the way.
Yeah, it's a really interesting question and really real. I think while we're not going to talk about, or right now in the curriculum, we don't have a set aside time to speak about that. I hope that it kind of springs more of these questions and invites you to explore them a little bit more within your own life. Yeah, I do have initial thoughts on that. That yeah, it's not a dichotomy in my viewpoint is the first thought. It's not like God planned here, my need to make decisions over here, but rather believing that God created us as free beings to make choices, and that leads us on different paths. But I think a lot of times where the frustration and stuckness can come, my word again, stuckness can come in, is having this idea, or paralysis maybe. I have seen this come out as, I don't know where to move because God has this perfect plan for me. And if I make the wrong decision, I'm going to be off that path, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, God is so creative. Like, there's not going to be a single decision we can make that suddenly is like, God can't, it doesn't find us there, right? And so it's, yeah, I see it more as God being an active participant in our lives. And we have the freedom to make these choices, and God will accompany us along the way. And the hope is that through these tools, you're also becoming more in tune with that just like divine wisdom that God placed within us, such that the hope is that it doesn't feel like God far away. I'm trying to like read through the craziness of life to figure out what that specific plan is, but that it feels more accessible. We said he used the phrase feels, I think you said it's an I word. Like, I think it said integrity, something along those lines, of like being that integrity towards who I am right now. And I think that's a big piece of it, without going too far into the weeds, but those are my initial thoughts.
I also agree. I'll just add a few bits so that we can also answer any other questions if there are others. That there's like, theologically, we can have so much fun with that question, right? But in the way that I hope we'll be addressing it in the class, it's more of an accompaniment and a deep listening, and this idea that whomever our image of God may be, because there are people who are coming from different religious backgrounds, that it's if they are coming from an idea of God, like an external, that it's this utter desire of like, what do you want to do? How do you want to have fun? Like of this, hopefully if we think of like a parent that is free and in their own self, that they're excited and curious to see what the child's going to be excited about and where they want to thrive and what they want to do in life and how they want to use their gifts, and supportive of that, and like, come on, let's go, let's play, like, and in the same way, God, and for those, yeah, I would say that regardless of if you use God language, if you don't use God language, what is the desire? What is being birthed within you right now? What is asking for your attention? And what do you want to do? How do you want to be most alive? Because we need people who are fully alive in the world. So I don't know if that answers anything, but
I think Molly's question really, it touches on a theme that has been asked in every generation from the beginning of time. Yes. And it's the interaction of God's sovereignty with our free will. And one of the things that that I know that I pick up from y'all that I have a sneaking suspicion might be one of the tools in the toolkit, but certainly that I just know in my own life that I tend to leave out, that's not, that I need to remember and add in, is the impact and the importance of community, both to celebrate and point to God's sovereignty, because I see God acting in the lives of other people, but to also enable and enlighten more opportunities for me to exercise my free will. So I think the good news is, well, the bad news is we did not and will never be able to answer Molly's question. The good news is you can spend a year with us as we wrestle with that question, all of us individually and collectively in the class. So that's an excellent question, Molly.
Yes, it is.
So practically speaking, I want to make sure I add in there, so when folks sign up online, they and attend the first class, they're actually signing up for the classes that will happen throughout the year. There is a cost to the class. I forget what it is. Can you remind me what it is?
$125.
$125. But there are scholarships available, are they not?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So, go ahead.
anyone who, there's not a limit to the amount of scholarships, so please don't feel like that cost is a barrier. Yeah, we want to make it accessible to people.
And we have full or partial. So if you say, you know what, I can pay 50, but I just can't pay 125 right now, or I can pay 10 now and 20 later, whatever works in your schedule, we want folks to have accessibility for the class. And I think we are going to put our general informational email in the chat. If you have any more questions, of course, the registration link should be in the chat, and it has a full readout of the class and who Luisely and Crisely are and how to sign up. But if you want even more, if you have specific questions, the email should be in the chat as well. It's info@festivalcenter.org. And we would love to correspond with you and let you know whatever you need to find out. So I think we're about close to wrapping up our time. This has really kind of whetted the appetite for me. I'm really excited about the class. I am not, Luisely and Crisely can tell you, I am not the most spiritual person in the world, to put it lightly. But this is going to be an excellent way for me to kind of exercise that part of me that does not get much exercise. So I'm excited about it. Anything y'all wanted to close with? Anything y'all want to share at the end?
Yeah, I want to say thank you to you, Bill, to Lindsay in the background, to the Festival Center for wanting to create space for this and prioritizing this work, because I think it's so nourishing for our external work. Like, it's not just that we're doing this discernment toolkit for ourselves so that we can feel more zen in life, but it's so that we can be light in the world, right? So that we can go forth and I'm using lots of Christian language, but that's my background. To go and be light. And so I really do. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm grateful for the Festival Center for having this, and also really excited about the fruits that can come from this in our own lives, in our families, in our workplaces, in our communities, and really invite anybody. And if it's not for you, you can think of other people that it's for, and you can send it to them, because I really do think that it's really nourishing stuff.
Yeah, and on a practical note too, if you're hesitant to sign up because of a certain course load, don't let that be a barrier either. I think part of how we wanted to design it was that you could come as you are, and we hope that you're practicing these tools, but that's going to be it's going to be in the moment. And so there aren't readings associated with it. It'll be really experiential. Yeah. I'm also coming at this of okay, as a mother of a 3-year-old, what is almost 3-year-old, what is possible for me? What it would make it so that I could show up. And so I hope that, yeah, people feel that isn't a barrier, and that we hope as much as possible that it's welcoming for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter where you are in life, no matter what is on your plate, it's an important investment in who we are individually, as children of the Creator and as people who are responsible for living out the gifts that we've been given. So, yeah, this is exciting. It's going to be fun. Thank you all so much for having this conversation. It's been incredibly uplifting. Thank you all for in Facebook land for joining with us. We hope that everyone has a good night, and we'll make this. We'll probably post this on our website, festivalcenter.org, if you didn't catch all of it, so that folks can tune into the whole thing. But if you have any questions, info@festivalcenter.org. The registration link is in the chat, and we look forward to seeing you at the first class on February 22nd at 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Thank you all so much.